Who were the Roman gods? Who were the Roman gods, and what was the old Roman religion which Augustus now wanted to revive? In the beginning, when the early Latins, or future Romans, had been but semi-savages wandering in the forest, just as all the races of people must have been once upon a time, their gods were spirits of the forest. Ignorant and fearful, they felt a power in the strange world about them that they did not understand, a great spirit moving through the forest. Spirits were everywhere, in every crackling stick, in every stone, in the howling wolf, the wind and lightning, the thunder. Water, fire, trees all held spirits that could harm them or perhaps be able to help them. To force or bribe or persuade these spirits to be friendly, they thought up strange taboos, magic formulas, and made human sacrifice, trading one's life to save others. And, as if binding themselves into a bargain, they called what they felt and did religio, from the word meaning to bind fast. And that is what religion is, man's desire and effort to bind himself fast and secure to the great spirit of the universe. Mars, it is to believe, was the first spirit to be given a name by these wandering Latins. Every spring, when the winter was over, they set out to fight their neighbors for new fields to plow and plant. So that first month of the new year, when they were filled with the spirit of war, became sacred to Mars, god of both war and seed time. When their wandering Latins finally settled down and became farmers, they found spirits of the countryside to worship. Pagan spirits from the country is what the word pagan means. Jove was the sky spirit who would send the rain. Saturn was the spirit of the plentiful harvest. Terminus was the guardian of the boundary stones, and there were many others. It was a simple family religion with no temple but the home, no priest but the family father. Above the hearth, the father's guiding spirit or genius, represented by a small figure, stood between two other figures, guardian spirits of the well-filled storehouse. These three, representing the spirit and welfare of the household, were its Lars and Penates. Vesta, the spirit of the hearth, was the heart and center of the home, and was tended by the spirits of the family. Janus, the guardian of the house door, was paid his due respect by the brothers, that he might keep our enemies and all evil spirits. To all these spirits of the home and field, and there were many, the father saw that with the help of his sons and daughters, the proper sacrifices were made. No task, however small, was undertaken without recognizing the unseen spirit that was behind it. Their religion was part of everything they did. In time, the Latins joined with another tribe, the Sabines, to form Rome, and the country spirits of both tribes were adopted by the little town or city. The city-state then became like an enlarged family. The king, as father of his people, became the high priest, or pontifex, Maximus. Lesser priests called brothers were appointed to assist him. 6 Vestal virgins or sisters tended the city's sacred hearth fire, and Janus guarded the city gate. Sacrifices became very formal and were carried out strictly according to the letter of the law. The people themselves no longer took part in them, so the old spirit was gone. The Utrasicans, another tribe, then came down from the north, established themselves in Rome, and brought their gods to be accepted by the Romans and worshipped by them. Jupiter was the greatest, the best, the king, and the father of heaven. He took the place of the old sky spirit Jove. The Etruscans built a temple for him on the Capitol line. In it they placed a huge image of him, looking like a man, that the first time the Romans had ever imagined a god or spirit as having the shape of a human being. Meanwhile, before Rome was founded, pioneers from Greece had landed in southern Italy and established colonies and towns. As Rome grew larger, the Romans began to trade with these Greek cities to the south of them, and gradually, one by one, they adopted the Greek gods. They carried back their images and set them up in Rome, and in most cases gave them names of the old Roman spirits with whom they seemed to correspond. In times, all of the 12 Greek gods who were supposed to live on Mount Olympus had arrived in Rome and had been accepted. And all the myths which the imaginative Greeks had made up about these marvelous creatures had been learned by the practical-minded Romans, who could never have invented them. According to these myths, in the beginning of the world, there had been only Father Heaven and Mother Earth. They had children, huge, forceful, gigantic creatures called the Titans. Two of the Titans, Cronus, or Father Time, and Rhea, were married. They had 6 children. Cronus swallowed the first 5 of his offspring, so the mother fooled him when the 6th one was born. She wrapped up a stone and gave it to her husband to swallow, and so saved the baby Jupiter. Jupiter promptly gave his father a strong drink and made him upswallow his 5 brothers and sisters. Then, after building himself a fortress on Mount Olympus, Jupiter drove away old Cronus, his father, and set himself up as king of heaven, with his sister Juno as queen. Jupiter had 5 children. One day, Venus, this beautiful daughter of Jupiter, came to Earth, married a Trojan, and so became the mother of the hero Aeneas. Aeneas, in turn, was the early ancestor of Romulus, who became not only the first king of Rome, but also another Roman god. Just how this all came about, how Romulus came to be a god, is told by Livy in his history. For now, while Virgil was writing the Aeneid, Livy was at work on his famous history of Rome. He began it with his long love story of Aeneas, even though he now knew it to be a legend or myth rather than actual history. Livy began while Virgil ended his 6th book. This is his story. After Aeneas had finally landed in Italy at the mouth of the Tiber River, he found himself in territory inhabited by a tribe of natives known as Latins. The king received him, and he married the king's daughter, whereupon her former suitor declared war upon him. After many mighty battles in which the Etruscans came to the help of the Latins and the Trojans, Aeneas was finally victorious. Upon the king's death, he inherited the Latin throne. After his own death, his son became king and built a capital for the Latins, which he called Alba Longa, the long white town. 8 generations later, Aeneas, 7 times great-grandson, was king in Alba Longa. This king had a very evil and jealous brother who drove him from the throne, expelled his sons, and hoping to wipe out the family, forced the king's daughter to become a Vestal virgin. But Rhea surprised her uncle. She became the mother of twin sons whose father was Mars. In spite of their evil uncle's attempt to drown them, these famous twins, Romulus and Remus, grew up, drove away their uncle, and put their grandfather back upon his throne. Then they went northwest to found a new city for themselves on one of the 7 hills overlooking a yellow river. There, on a date supposed to be April 22nd, 753 BC, Rome was founded and Romulus became the first king. After telling the principal events of his reign, which included stealing the women of the Sabine tribe because the Romans were in need of wives, Livy tells how Romulus, the first mythical king, came to be made god. One day a sudden storm arose, he said, accompanied by a violent thunder and lightning. The king, Romulus, was enveloped in a thick cloud which hid him from the eyes of the assembly and was never more seen on earth. The senators who had been standing close to him said that he had been snatched away to heaven by a whirlwind. Then, a few setting the example, the The whole multitude hailed Romulus as a god, the son of a god, the king, and the father of the city of Rome. After his death, Julius Caesar, another so-called descendant of Aeneas, had also been made a god, who now would be the next one.